Hi, it's Paul, and today I'm here with my Metabo KGS305, and I'm going to try and answer a question from @GingerSmudger3920. His comment was, I'm considering purchasing this miter saw. Is it still working, and would you recommend it at £329? So what I did was I went and looked at the invoice from when I bought it, and I bought it in June 2020, so just about 4 years ago. One thing I did put wrong in my response to Ginger Smudger 3920 was I put that I paid, I think, £390 for it. Yeah, I paid £390.44. I've discovered I didn't. I paid £290 something for it. What I'd looked at was the amount that had gone out of my bank card, and I'd forgotten that I actually bought a couple of other things at the same time. I can't remember what, but I found the invoice, and the actual price of this miter saw in 2020 was about 290 something. So apologies for that. But to answer the question, I thought I'd do a bit of a long-term review. Now, one of the things that I should be very clear about is I do not use this every day. I'm no longer working every day. I'm retired now. I wasn't even working every day in timber and all the rest of it. When I was working, I was engineering. So we'll call this predominantly a weekend warrior, or DIY, or whatever you want to call it. It isn't used every day. If I'm absolutely honest, the first year I bought it, I probably used it quite a lot. Certainly all the landscaping projects that I did, the raised beds and the pergola and the second lot of decking, the timber decking, of which there are videos around on my channel. All of those projects involved this. I cut some pretty big stuff. That's why I bought it. I bought it to cut the timbers for the landscaping for the raised bed project, and it was brilliant for that. I wrecked the blade on it because I cut up some old timber that I've no idea where I got it from, but it had some nails in it and it trashed the blade. So, and I've also worn one down, so I've changed the blade twice on it, and at the moment I've got a panel saw type blade, lots of TPI, good for cutting fine work for things like shelving and stuff like that. Outside of that then, simple answer, yes, if it failed today, I would likely go and get another one. The only, yeah, I would get another one. I'll explain some of why it was a little bit sort of. There are a couple of things I really don't like about it. So the biggest thing I don't like about it is the amount of space it takes up back to the wall. If you take this as being the back of the saw, around about here, well, even here's the back of the legs, and to my mind it shouldn't really come back any further than the back of the rear legs. It actually comes back quite a lot further, and then when you push the saw backward, you're miles back here. So if you're in a workshop like mine, where you're challenged by the amount of space and you want to put it tight back to the bench, if you imagine the wall here, so I plonk it on my bench, I put it back to the wall, so I plonk it on my bench, I put it back to the wall, but I can't slide it backwards because it smashes into the wall, and that's not good. It was great when I was doing the landscaping out in the garden, because I'd set up my bench in the garden and then I had loads of space, not a problem. But I do not like that. spin it round. And again, it's my choice. In fairness, I knew that before I bought it, and I didn't think it was going to be an issue. But it has been an issue, so it's something to bear in mind. The other thing I don't like, and I'm pretty sure I did mention this in the initial video, is this supposed interference fit clamp post is an utter waste of time. With the vibration of the saw and blah de blah de blah, this just slides out. One of these days what I will do is drill a hole in it and put a bolt in it, and I won't have any problems with it then. But at the moment, again, it's a pain in the neck, really is. Also, it's supposed to work by going in the front here, and it doesn't really work there either. What they're supposed to be, and you can't see it on the camera, but there's supposed to be very fine machining on this, sort of almost like a turning mark, which would make it grip a little bit better. So, not a fan of the clamp. Like I say, one day I will fix it, but I haven't needed to up until now. That's about all I don't like. Other than that, it's reliable enough, it hasn't failed me. I do not use the laser guide, and I do not use the work light. Let's just plug it in a second. So there's the work light. I guess it does make a vague bit of difference to the illumination of the workpiece. If I turn the lights off in here, it definitely makes a difference. And so you could say it's justified, but I prefer to work in an area that's overall decently lit. So to me, I never use it. And the same rules apply to me with the laser. I spent a bit of time out of the box. The laser was not accurate in the slightest. I spent a bit of time and set it up with the previous blade. I think this is a slightly thinner blade. I set it up on the previous blade to cut literally just at the side of the blade. And I got it adjusted up good enough to be usable, but the fact of the matter is I don't use it. I never switch it on. Why don't I switch it on? Well, on the DeWalt, my version of the DeWalt, there is no laser. I think the later version of the same little 216mm saw comes with their shadow line, but I'm so used to, over the years, marking my timber and just rolling the blade across and looking at where the blade is in comparison to the mark, I just feel it doesn't really benefit me anything. So I just don't use it. So laser, light, not bothered. The rest of it, things like this, the depth adjuster, look a bit fragile, but it's been fine. The front rear lock looks a bit fragile, but it's been fine. No more torque on the clamp. I trashed the rear fence because I tipped the saw over at an angle and forgot to move it out of the way, which you're supposed to do, but that was my fault entirely. The stops are okay. The clamping is okay. It's better, I would say, than the DeWalt. Something I've never noticed before, that it appears to just tip very slightly. Something's moving as I tighten it right up, and I've never noticed that before. Something I like about this one is it's got the trenching possibility, despite the fact that I don't like the way it slides out the back. What that does do, because this is a nodding head type saw, which means it pivots separately to the sliding assembly. On my little DeWalt, the sliding assembly is part of the pivot and the whole thing tips up and down. This has a nodding head and it's only the saw element that tips up and down. The slide moves backwards and forwards at the same level, and what that means is that with the aid of one of these stops, you can stop the saw at a given height and cut a trench with it or cut tenons with it. Can't do that with the little DeWalt because it works in a different method. I'll do another review video on that and explain. But at the end of the day, I would class this as a DIY tool and not a professional level tool. I'm not sure what I would class as a professional level tool. I know there's a really expensive big DeWalt one, and certainly something like the Festool CapEx, if you've got the money to go for one of them, its name is right. If you talk about capital expenditure, the CapEx is definitely capital expenditure. And that's great if you're doing it for a living and your business justifies and finances your tool purchases. But for us people stuck in the shed at the weekend, I would suggest this is more than adequate. Certainly with a decent blade in, and I'm not getting into who makes the best blade. This is a Freud blade, and it's fine. The thing is, it needs to be sharp. I've also cut with DeWalt blades. I don't think I've got any more Metabo blades. I didn't buy any, but I've got DeWalt blades. I've got these Freud blades. So there we have it then. Metabo KGS305. Would I buy it again? Yes. Would I buy it, as Ginger Smudger asks, for $329 as opposed to the $290 that I paid for it? Yes, I would. I would imagine it still represents one of the cheaper ones. There's an SIP one that's cheaper that I looked at originally, and I can't remember why I didn't buy it, but I decided this was the better of the two. Certainly, if you want to go up in price, there are better ones. In fairness, some of the more expensive ones are not that much better. They won't do anything improved until you get right up to the top end of the range, and then you get potentially better accuracy, but you get better all over build and potential longevity. So there you have it. Hope that's been useful for someone. Hope it's been helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.